Well, there's also a lot going on in the plant world. For the inside scoop on what's trending, we head on over to Paradise Garden Club to find out what colorful leaves and foliage are making a statement in 2020. So one of the biggest trends in 2020 we're seeing are plants from the 70s and 80s making a resurgence. So why would you recommend a Marimo?
So Marimo is making a resurgence, like you just said, because they are so easy to keep alive. They're definitely my go-to plant for anybody that thinks they have more of a black than a green thumb, or they just don't have the time. These are sometimes called generational plants. So somebody in the 70s and 80s in your family probably had some of these, and they're still floating around in the family somewhere.
Okay, and the coolest thing about it is it's actually living underwater and thriving.
Yes, so they're actually a form of algae. So
Wow.
they start, they're native to Japan and parts of Northern Europe in very cold water. So they start as a flat sheet of algae, and then the currents of the lakes and ponds they live in turn them into these beautiful little spheres.
So let's put our hands on this
Yes.
because this is too cool. It's almost like something out of science fiction or out of the bottom of a lake, just like it is.
Exactly, yes. So they are alive. They will continue to grow as long as they're kept happy.
It's fuzzy here.
Right. In their little environment. So you're gonna go ahead and toss him in his tank.
Okay.
And these guys love cold water because of their native habitats. So I change their water once a week. Whenever you start to see a line or the water evaporates and their little furry backs come out. So we just use a pH balanced cold water. And when you pour that in, if you can get it to hit the right angle, they'll do a little swirl, and that helps them keep their little sphere shape. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need, right? It's a clear vase, it looks unusual, it lives underwater, and you only have to change the water out once a week.
It's a great accent piece, and they love low light as well. So they're great for dorms, offices, bathrooms, anywhere that it's going to maintain a consistently cool temperature, and they're not going to get a ton of light exposure.
And I feel like if you put several of them together, it's definitely a great focal point.
For sure. And if you have any fish that live in fresh water, you can just go ahead and toss them in those tanks,
Oh,
and they
wow.
make great little friends.
How cool.
Yeah.
Well, in just a bit, we take a look at another indoor plant that lives in low light and is actually showing very colorful leaves. And the best part, it also virtually impossible to kill.
All right, if you don't exactly have a green thumb, like, me, but you want to get in on the plant trends, you may want to consider a plant with colorful leaves.
Yeah, that's a great start. So Jessica Talazan at Paradise Garden Club introduces us to colorful foliage that's making a statement in 2020. And if you're looking for colorful foliage, one option would be the prayer plant because you just peek under and it's got a pop of surprise color.
Yes.
And it looks like we've got two different forms here.
Yeah, so we have the prayer plant in two different varieties. What you were holding is called a kokedama. It's a form of bonsai where you mix a special moisture retentive soil and then wrap it in moss. And this guy only needs to be watered about once a week. Just soak that moss ball, give it a little squeeze, right back on display.
So what you're telling me is literally this is what it looks like. It doesn't go into a plant.
Yeah.
It can hang, it could be on the counter.
Kokedama is hanging garden or rootless garden.
Wow.
So yeah, you can use pretty much any plant and make any size. I love the prayer plant in this just because it looks so great hanging in a nice window as long as it's not in super bright sunlight.
Okay, and this one looks like it could spread out a lot more.
Yes.
I'm curious about some of its care needs as well.
So this plant actually does really well in areas of your home that have lower light and higher humidity. I find it does really well in kitchens, anywhere you're gonna be cooking, washing dishes, all that steam. If you have a natural low light in your bathroom, it loves that as well.
And then if you found it wasn't getting as much humidity as it needed, maybe in that kitchen area, what's your hack?
Yes, so these ones, they will tend to fold up and their leaves will curl a little bit. They're not looking super healthy. Next time you use your shower and take a nice hot shower, pop the plant right in the bathroom. That extra steam, it'll just eat up that humidity and relax right back into its natural state.
I love that. And then why is it called the prayer plant?
It's super cute. So we have this beautiful burgundy color on the bottom, and you can't really see that all the time, but at nighttime, these plants go to sleep and they fold up their leaves together like two hands at prayer, and that's when you get to see that other color.
Okay, and then let's say maybe we weren't looking for a burgundy color in our plant, but rather something a bit brighter. Why might you like this?
So this one is my other bright favorite. He's called the Neon Devil. It's in the pothos family, so it's related to any plant that sort of vines out and has these big, broad, beautiful leaves. And this one I find is really neat because it reacts to the sunlight that it has access to. So the more light that it has, the brighter this neon color will be. And then if you want to change your colors a little bit, you can just pull it back from the light and you'll start to get a darker coloration.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this right, it's sort of like a chameleon based on how much sunlight it
Yes,
gets.
exactly. It's very responsive.
Okay, and then what are its care needs?
So this one, super easy to care for. It needs to be watered whenever the soil's almost totally dry. So maybe once a week, give them a little drink. And this thing's really neat as a hanging plant, or if you put it on a shelf, it'll go out sort of like a bush and then start reaching. So you can train it to climb up trellises or windows. It's very neat.
Well, and the prairie plant, again, I've seen pictures of it online. So at night when it does fold up, you just see this like beautiful maroon color on the leaves, and it does look really cool.
Yeah, really neat. I picked up that if I'm not watering enough, I have to take it in the shower with me, which is a little weird. But
Well, it's a little weird. That's only if your plant isn't doing well.
I
It needs the
know.
humidity. It's a nice little hack there.
I
Thank
know
you, Jessica,
it's actually
for
a
telling us that.
good thought. So yes, I'm sorry. I was just making a joke. I apologize. Moving on.
Yeah, so there's one other thing that we should touch on that plant trend watchers are forecasting for this season.
All right. Well, I want to be a trendsetter, not a watcher.
Okay, well then you're gonna have to up your cactus game. So let's say you want to grow a cactus in the Midwest and you don't want it to eventually die. You're gonna have to get the soil right. So blend has everything to do with it.
It sure does. You definitely want to start with a good compost or house blend potting soil mix to begin with.
Okay, and when you say it's a house blend, this is just like you would use for a house plant.
For any traditional house plant growing indoors, outdoors, it's any kind of topsoil, composted soil. But it's good to start with a base of that sort.
Okay, and just put it in the bowl?
Yeah.
Throw it in?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what's next?
So this is decomposed granite. It acts as a stabilizer for the roots and acts as an aggregate to help the drainage of the soil.
And why is that so important for a cactus, right? Because we need it stabilized.
It needs to be stabilized for the roots to be able to drain and also be able to have the density for the roots to be able to adhere and keep the cactus upright and living.
Okay, and did you go ahead and mix that up, or is
Mix
that
it up a
important?
little bit.
Okay, and then what's gonna be next?
This is coarse sand, and we'll just mix that in.
Okay, sand. Now this is something that you wouldn't want a lot of plants to have, but why is it so important?
It's really
for a
important
cactus?
because it helps aerate the root system and it doesn't retain moisture. And so it acts, again, as an aggregate for the roots to adhere to, at the same time allowing the roots to breathe without over moisture in the root system.
Okay, and it's something that I think we're stepping in here. We want to really mirror the climate of a desert
Right.
because that's not what we naturally have here in Missouri.
Yeah. So definitely want well-draining soil is a must for any kind of cactus garden for sure.
Okay, and then this may look like it's just a rock that you'd find outside, but what is it?
That is actually pumice and it is a volcanic rock.
so it's a very special type of rock.
Yes. It's a very light, airy stone. Once again, it adds for adequate moisture evaporation in the soil system.
Okay, so we're gonna throw this in here.
Yeah.
And then it looks like we've got one rock left.
Yeah, this is the black lava rock, and this really adds as again, an aeration for the soil to have an aggregate to really create those air pockets so the moisture can evaporate out of the soil system.
Well, and if you think about it, a cactus would be perfect for someone who may or may not forget to water those plants regularly. So, I mean, that could be me. Since some of them can actually survive up to 2 years without water.
All right. Well, we got